I'm Storm Track 12 meteorologist Les Still back with you on this Friday morning, and as we head on into this weekend, for the most part, it's going to be a nice weekend. In fact, nice dry stretch of weather from now all the way into probably this time next week. Exception is going to be along the beaches, though, as we are going to be tracking a storm system off the coast that is going to be having some windy conditions there. Now, seasonally cool temperatures as we go on through this weekend, not only for just daytime highs, but even for overnight lows. We are going to be, again, watching that coastal storm. If you're headed to the beaches, you're going to be looking at higher than normal rip current threats, as well as some rough surf there. Maybe 1 to 2 foot rises in the southern Pamlico Sound, but astronomical low tide is really going to help as far as any flooding issues is concerned there. Again, the low itself stays about 400 to 500 miles offshore, and it's not going to become tropical. It's just a nor'easter trying to develop out there. And speaking of the tropics, they remain quiet as well, at least for the next week or two. So here's my Storm Track 12 forecast for you heading through this Friday. Breezy conditions along the beaches, temps in the mid-70s, so a little bit cooler than what we saw yesterday. Partly cloudy skies at worst through the day today and overnight tonight. Temperatures into the mid-50s for inland spots, low 60s at the beaches. Then that mixture of sun and clouds in here for tomorrow. Tad bit warmer as far as temperatures are concerned. Now, you can see where we topped out at yesterday, 80 degrees and 62 this morning. So it has been an average last 24 hours in New Bern here, with that sunrise now into that 7 o'clock hour. All right, here's what we're watching. It's the difference in pressure, the pressure gradient, as we call it, between the high pressure across New England, the low pressure developing off the southeast coast here that's going to create the northeasterly winds. And they will be rather gusty from time to time here, especially, again, along the beaches. As these little pockets of cold air come through at the jet stream level, that's also going to introduce the potential for some clouds, more so than showers, although, again, I can't rule out a spotty shower or sprinkle along the beaches as we do head on in through this weekend. Here's our upper level low. It's cutting off the coast here, and again, we've got this northerly flow bringing that dry, cool air straight from Canada. Look at this upper level ridge from Louisiana all the way up to Lake Michigan into southern Canada, for that fact. So just a beautiful stretch of weather there, and you'll notice you got to go all the way back into Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho before you see any cloud cover around. This upper level ridge is dominating, and that's going to be the main feature here over the next several days. Now, you notice the upper level low, it does kind of spin off the coast here and eventually cuts off briefly, but off to our south and the east. So as a result, not a problem for us here in eastern Carolina. That low level storm is going to develop and swing off to the east side of this upper level low, and as a result here, it's going to be closer to Bermuda than it is to us here in eastern Carolina. And then eventually we'll watch that upper trough, bringing the snowstorm basically to Montana. That will eventually lift out and allow a very weak cold front. In fact, it'll probably end up dissipating by the time it reaches us here in eastern Carolina by early next week. As that upper level low ejects on out of here, we'll get more of a westerly wind starting to sweep in, and that zonal flow will eventually start to warm us up with temperatures at or even slightly above average for highs by the middle of next week. Now, as I mentioned, it's going to be rather windy along the beaches, but notice inland spots, 10, 15 mile an hour winds along the beaches, 15 to 25, maybe even some gusts up to 30, 35 miles an hour. And again, it is going to be out of the northeast, continuing not only through the day today, but even in through Saturday and Sunday as well, before that pressure gradient really slackens as that coastal storm eventually starts to move away. Now, as far as wave heights are concerned here, you can see that storm developing off Georgia and South Carolina coast, and we're probably looking at about 7, 8, 10-foot waves just off the coast here, right along onshore, 4, 5, 6-foot waves here, so you can definitely tell that the surfers are going to be loving this as we head on in through this weekend. But it does also allow us to have a high rip current threat risk as well. Northeasterly wind from time to time, bringing a little bit of moisture in. Again, a few clouds along and east of Highway 17, but for the most part, we're going to see lots of sunshine around over the next several days. We are going to be watching some pockets of cold air, some vortexes coming down in that northerly flow that from time to time may introduce a sprinkle maybe right along the outer banks, but I think most of that action will hold just offshore from us here. And you can see on Future Track here by Sunday going into Monday that cold front trying to approach from Ohio, but again, it's very moisture-starved, running into very dry air, and for the most part, it's not going to be a major factor for us here. So your planning forecast does show that as we head on into the early part of next week, a lot of outdoor activities taking place. We've got the Muscadine Festival in Kenansville, Duplin County this weekend. We've also got the Wayne County Fair happening. Pitt and Onslow County Fairs kick off next Monday, so what that means we are going to be looking at a nice dry stretch of weather for the majority of that time period here. In case you're wondering, thinking about headed down to the beach for tomorrow, again, we have that high rip current threat risk, but as far as the air temperatures are concerned, into the mid-70s, surf temps are into the low to mid-70s, so still not a bad weekend to potentially head to the beach, and you'll notice some of that warmer air getting back in the forecast as we head into the first day of October, which is next Tuesday. We actually get above normal temperatures. Have yourself a good weekend. I'll talk to you on Monday. I'm Storm Track 12 meteorologist Les Still.